All right, well, good afternoon and welcome. I woke up this morning and probably thought about it and should have called a snow day, but it was sunny outside. The press club folks told me it didn't apply to this situation, so I'm still here. Oh well, we're out of snow days anyway. But thanks for attending my 2014 State of the Akron Public Schools address. I want to thank the Press Club for sponsoring this event, along with the University of Akron for hosting us here at Quaker Station. I'd like to acknowledge our board members that are here today: Lisa Mansfield, our board president, Bruce Alexander, board vice president, Dave Lombardi, Tim Miller, Veronica Sims, Reverend Dr. Curtis T. Walker Sr., and Patrick Bravo could not be here because of some business in Columbus. And I don't recall if they're former board members. There is one, Ginger Baylor, I remember. Any other former board members? All right, well, welcome, Ginger. Oh, and Reverend Arledge, thank you. And our elected officials, please stand and be recognized. I know there are a couple of judges. Judge Theodosio, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. And to all of our other honored guests, welcome. So I don't know about you, but to come to work and have a job where you just went through a bunch of training to learn a bunch of new stuff, only to come back the next day and then find you have to learn a whole nother set of new rules, and things can be difficult, if not frustrating. But this is the reality of education today. We opened this school year seeing considerable consternation among our teachers and principals, and Pat Shipe, our AEA union president, I remember at the opening for our teachers, just said, I know you're going to get frustrated. Don't ball up in the corner and, have those breakdowns. We're going to get through it. And really, thanks to you and your members, we are getting through it. For us, the state of Ohio implemented new evaluation systems for teachers and principals. And this was on top of a new state report card system for schools, a third grade reading guarantee, and a laundry list of other changes, including new assessments and new state budget. Our challenges far exceed what we do in the classroom. As I enter my 6th year as your superintendent, the challenges our students face today can weigh heavily on me at times. After all, student success is important to me and important to all of APS. As our students' future goes, so does the future of our community. We must continue our strong commitment to student success. Now, over the last 5 years, I have discussed the new realities facing our schools, including more rigorous educational standards, holding professional educators accountable, but most important, graduating students who are college and career ready. I also spoke about some of our challenges that families face, including poverty, crime, health, and a culture that can place barriers in the way of students' aspirations for success. Today, we still need to help our students and their families overcome these barriers. A year ago, I spoke to many of you here about how our entire community must be concerned about supporting our children from the cradle to career. Our primary goal should be focused on preparing and supporting our students as they move on to the careers they choose. Working in partnership with organizations like Project Grad, the Summit Education Initiatives, the TRIO programs here at the University of Akron, and many more, we are indeed making progress. We continue on the path to ensuring high-quality teaching and learning, recruiting, developing, and retaining a high-performing staff, building relationships with our staff, family, and community, continuing to seek adequate resources while maintaining fiscal responsibility, and providing safe, orderly, and affirming community learning centers. These focus areas won't go away, but moving forward, we really have to narrow that focus and concentrate on a narrow band of things, including core academics in the classroom, college and career-ready supports, and creating a nurturing and valuable relationships with our partners, people that work with us and other organizations that work with us to support student success. We serve our students best by making them college and career ready and prepared to face the world. The key to all of this is getting into the heads of our students and understanding what drives them, knowing their interests and passions. So we have to form personal and authentic relationships with each one if we are to be successful as a community in preparing our young people for life. You may have heard that the state has a new way of evaluating our schools. They're giving us a report card. It's more rigorous and it hands out grades like many of our kids, A through F. And Akron Public Schools continues to rank as one of the highest among the 8 urban districts across the state. And these new evaluations also compare our performance to similar districts across the state by poverty, size, and percentage of residents with college degrees, percentage of minority students as well. And we are matched with 13 districts in our cohort, including Columbus, Cincinnati, Elyria, and Lorain. And it's good to compare apples to apples in this regard because, urban school districts have to deal with issues that many of our rural and suburban counterparts do not always face, especially high poverty rates. So on this report card, our performance index score was rated a C, and our percentage of indicators met on the report card was rated an F. Now remember, this is a completely new report card. So we were under the old system trying to work towards becoming effective, and then they pulled the rug from under us, and now it's all A to F in a bunch of different categories. So the performance index and the number of indicators met, these two measures will be used to calculate our overall achievement score, but that won't be until 2015 because the current report card is not finished. So we don't get a final grade until the year 2015. Our 4-year graduation rate rose slightly from 75.3% to 75.9%. Our goal is by 2015 to have that rate at 90%. I know that's very aggressive. Our 4-year graduation rate is higher than the average for our 13 similar districts, but it still earned us an F on the report card. And not everyone graduates in 4 years for a variety of reasons. Our 5-year graduation rate is 82%, which is right at the state average. In Akron Public Schools, we don't quit on our students. Through innovative programs at our Akron Alternative Academy and our other 9 high schools, we continue to work with students who don't graduate on time, and we make sure that they're successful. Part of what makes this whole thing work is the exceptional performance of our career education students. We have 33 career programs from pre-engineering, dental technology, hospitality management, masonry, computer programming. Our 4- and 5-year graduation rates for our career education students both earn the top rating in the state of an A. Our career education programs also were rated a B for successfully placing our graduates directly into competitive employment or moving them on to post-secondary programs. Thank you. And for the 4th consecutive year, nearly every grade level across the district improved in reading. And in fact, in reading, we outperformed the average across the 13 similar districts across nearly every grade level. So for example, in the all-important 3rd grade, 71 of our students are proficient. The average for our 13 similar districts is 66%. The state average is 81%. So at a minimum, we should exceed the state average, and we'll get there. And for the 34% of our 3rd graders who are not proficient, we offer intensive interventions from tutoring to our Akron After School program to our summer school to allow students to catch up. Now, we have reallocated millions of dollars of resources to support our K-2 teachers, including adding a 6-week summer school program for any 3rd grader who does not pass the state test to meet the 3rd grade reading guarantee by the end of the year. Our goal is not just to be the highest across the urban district with the challenges most urban districts face, but to be the best, period. Our children, thank you. we realize that our children need to compete with all students in this entire region, including some of our suburban neighbors. And yes, we have a lot of work to do, but we're already seeing some of our buildings compete and exceed our neighbors. So we have a good foundation in which to build from. And in math, after 3 years of steady gains, we experienced some small declines this year, although we are still higher than the average for our 13 similar districts. And here is some news that I never really tire of talking about, and that's about our Akron Early College, which was recognized as a National Blue Ribbon School this year. I know Marilyn Bennett is somewhere in this. You know, Marilyn thinks that she gets on my nerves when she calls me, but I actually like her calling me because we can solve problems or issues. But Marilyn, along with some of her staff, traveled to the White House to receive this distinguished award. The Akron Early College High School is the second highest ranked school in all of Summit, Medina, and Stark counties, I believe, and second only to Hudson High School in our county. And we're about 1.5 points away from their performance index score. So we have a little bit more work to do. All right, Marilyn, a little pressure. Again, I'd like to congratulate Marilyn and her staff and the students at the Akron Early College High School for their hard work. And that wouldn't be possible without, of course, the partnership of Dr. Proenza and the University of Akron, our partner on the Akron Early College program, so thank you. In addition, you know, we'll get tired of hearing about Akron Early College, but again, more accolades. Akron Early College High School received the state's High Progress School of Honor designation this year, and that's awarded to schools in the top 10% ranked by gains in reading and math scores over the last 5 years. And the school would also have to rank in top 10% for gains in graduation rate during the last 5 years. And for those of you who don't know, students who attend the Akron Early College High School actually begin and spend their whole high school career on the University of Akron campus. And when they complete their studies, they not only get a high school diploma, but the majority of our graduates also receive associate degrees from the University of Akron. But there's also more. The Ohio Department of Education had named several Akron Public Schools as schools of promise, including the Early College High School, Firestone High School, and our Richmond Community Learning Center. And to receive this honor, a school has to not only have strong test scores and graduation rates, but 40% or more of their students are considered economically disadvantaged. And this is, thank you. And this is the second time that Richmond and Firestone have received this honor from the state for their strong performance. And I think, I know they're not here, I don't think, but Larry Bender and LaVon Humphrey, principals at those two schools, really do deserve a round of applause. All right, Larry, stand up. Thank you. Now in the category that I'm gonna call, I wish they had called first, in a recently published editorial, there was mention of a report entitled Misleading Measurements by Policy Matters Ohio regarding the academic performance in high-performing urban schools. And from the editorial, I quote, "If the large urban districts can and do produce highly rated schools, why can't they replicate what works in the model schools in their other buildings? If Akron's Miller South, say, consistently rates excellent or better, why doesn't Ennis or Jennings?" End quote. And that's a good question. So I took a look at our data as reported by the Ohio Department of Education, which is freely available. So in looking at the performance index ratings, our top ranked schools in the district that received an A or a B grade on the new state report card are as follows. Ellett Resnick Community Learning Center, our National Inventors Hall of Fame STEM Middle School, Firestone in Richmond, King, of course Miller South Visual and Performing Arts School, and our Akron Early College. Now, Miller South, you get in that school by an audition. Akron Early College is by lottery, but there is one qualifier. Applicant should be from a family where that student would be the first generation to attend college. Our STEM school is also by lottery, but that lottery is equally distributed across our 7 school clusters, with some that are open from outside of the district. Both of the lottery schools do not take academic achievement into account. And so since a lot of people like to rack and stack things, let's look at a figure that's called value added. It's really a measuring stick for incremental improvement. And it measures whether schools are moving students at least a year's growth in academics in a year's time. So some will say it's easier to get points in this area if you have a school that needs a lot more improvement. And we find that in some of our higher achieving schools, it's difficult to meet value added because we already have students who are high performing. So of the schools ranked at the top and referred to in the Policy Matters report for Akron, only 3 scored a grade of A or B in value added, which is actually showing growth in students. The remaining schools, there were 15 of them, received performance index grades of C or D. Now I happen to think that, these numbers can mislead us because schools, they are doing something to get a year's worth of growth out of our students. But in this case, Ennis and Jennings were specifically mentioned in the editorial, so here are the facts in comparison to Miller South. For overall progress for students in grades 4 through 8, Ennis and Jennings scored a grade of A, which means their students are learning more than a year's worth of material in a year's time, while Miller South scored a C in that area, which puts them right on an expected year's worth of growth in a year's time. But we can see that when you look at the overall performance index, lower performing schools are getting more growth than a higher performing school. So I'd like to congratulate Jen Moff, who's here, and I'm not sure if Rochelle Brown Hall, the principal at Jennings, is here, but please be recognized for good work. Thank you. All I can say is there is really no single method or a rating system that can tell the entire story of the hard work that our teachers, our principals, our volunteers and students and other staff do each and every day in Akron Public Schools. And this example gets to the point that I mentioned earlier about our focus on core academics in the classroom. There is excellent work occurring at Miller South and Jennings and Ennis, and that work should be recognized. And one factor can't tell us the whole story. We have learned, however, that excellence isn't always reflected in state rankings. Before the winter break and all this cold, really cold weather, one of our counselors called and said there were 2 sisters at this school who left APS because their parents moved out of district into a suburban district. And according to the counselor, he said these sisters were very outstanding students and really hated to see them leave. So he called the counselor at the suburban school to discuss which classes these students needed. And here is how that conversation went. The 8th grade middle school student from Akron was taking French for high school credit. The suburban middle school didn't offer French. The Akron student was also taking honors language arts, which is for high school credit. The suburban school did not offer any classes like that. The 7th grade sibling was in orchestra. The suburban district didn't offer orchestra. Now, both Akron students needed to be really in all honors classes, and the suburban school said that really might not be possible. Now, this suburban district has a higher performance rating than Akron, but the question to you is which district offers more opportunity and variety to students? You be the judge. And in case you don't believe me or think I've made it up, you can call Jennings CLC and talk to Counselor Doug Meredith. I hope you do. Our district offers incredible opportunities for all students, including important scholarships to help pay for college. In fact, we're in the 2nd year of our partnership with the University of Akron and the Innovation Generation Scholarship Program. With the transfer of our Central Howard property to the university, we now have approximately 70 students who are receiving a tuition-free education at the University of Akron based on eligibility, such as a 3.0 high school GPA and a score of 27 on the ACT, or a student who graduated in the top 10% of their high school class having a 26 on the ACT, or a 3.5 high school GPA and a 24 on the ACT. In addition, about a year ago, we had 100 Akron Public Schools students participate in our dual enrollment partnership with Stark State College, taking and earning about 300 credits of college coursework. And this year, we're increasing that to about 324 students who will be earning about 1,000 credit hours. And we've expanded this partnership to also include Lorain Community College, which will provide even more options for our students to get a jump start on their post-secondary education. So in addition to a student who may be interested in welding, getting his or her first industry certification with some post-secondary coursework through Stark State or Lorain Community College, a general education interested in earning college credit while still in high school has an easier route by taking these courses right at the school. And better yet, there's no cost to our students. And under the university system of Ohio, students can transfer non-remedial course credit earned at the high school from a community college or a four-year college. That credit can transfer to another four-year in-state college, public college. Last year, the mayor, Dr. Proenza, staff, Dr. Para-Jones and I worked with Stark State to offer adult courses in some of our community learning centers. These courses, can range from medical terminology or just, public speaking, et cetera. And it's really important that not only we serve our K through 12 population, but also have services offered to our adult population in the community. This year, we hope to expand that opportunity with a partnership with Lorain Community College as well. And needless to say, we have a very special relationship with Dr. Proenza and the University of Akron. In fact, if it was not for the Innovation Alliance program in partnership with Summit College and Stark State and Lorain Community College, we would not have progressed as far as we have in offering more dual enrollment opportunities to our students. However, I believe that the University of Akron has really taken a lead in bringing in more Akron Public School students, and in particular our students of color, into the fold, so to speak. Through the work of Lee Gill, and I know he's here somewhere because I believe I saw him earlier, and Jim Tressel, we have reached out to our African American male students by inviting them to attend the Black Male Summit. This gives them the opportunity to see the campus up close and to get to know the University of Akron. Oh, and I'll give a shameless plug. The Black Male Summit is April 11th and 12th at the university, so please attend. The University of Akron also has hosted every 10th grade student in our district for an extensive college exploration experience that opened doors of opportunities to our students. So thank you. Now, another way we're trying to improve our core academics and college and career readiness and partnerships is some reorganization within the district. I promoted Yvonne Culver to the position of coordinator of college and career readiness. She was a counselor, thank you. I know we're all very proud of her. I've seen some of her work up close. She was a counselor at Akron Early College High School, but she'll now provide her expertise in working with our counselors across the district and expanding our partnerships with post-secondary institutions so more of our students are prepared to take the next steps in their education or their transition to work. And speaking of careers, we all know the importance of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM. Last year, I reported that the progress made to raise money for our STEM programs, both the National Inventors Hall of Fame STEM middle and high schools. At that time, we had raised over $800,000 to support this unique approach to STEM education with active involvement from inductees to the National Inventors Hall of Fame. This past year, our students had the opportunity to work with Art Fry, the inventor of Post-it notes, Steve Sasson, inventor of the digital camera, and Don Keck, inventor of optical fibers. I'm very happy to report that for 2013, we have met our fundraising goal of $634,000 towards our grant with the GAR Foundation, where $1 is matched for every 2 we bring in. The GAR matching funds total $317,000 as a match. The GAR Foundation has been really our greatest champion and supporter, and not just in financial terms, but as strategic partners. So to Christine Mayer and Kirsten Toth and the entire GAR Foundation board, I'd like to say thank you. And to our STEM fundraising committee, I'll give credit where credit is due because I can't raise all that money on my own. I'd like to thank Burnett Williams, Vice President for External Affairs with Akron Children's Hospital, and John Bellissimo from Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. They serve as co-chairs for our fundraising committee. I know I saw Burnett here somewhere. And I know they're going to be busy working on a community leaders breakfast, which will be happening next week at our STEM high school. So thank you for your dedication and support. And I'd also like to mention that, you know, in terms of corporate citizens really stepping up, Goodyear and Children's Hospital really have, and not just in loaning executives, but also committing dollars to this very special effort. So I'd like to say thank you. In addition, I'd like to recognize the Burton D. Morgan Foundation, and not for awarding grants to our STEM program, which I'm very thankful for, but really for promoting entrepreneurial thinking. And by doing so, it got many of us to think more entrepreneurial ourselves. So in addition to our 2 STEM schools, our demonstration schools, we also run one of the 5 statewide Ohio STEM Learning Network hubs to support the spread of STEM instructional strategies across the state. This year, our Ohio STEM Learning Network Akron Hub has generated approximately $97,000 in income and received about $396,000 in grants to support outreach, professional development, and training activities. We have provided professional development to surrounding school districts and have hosted delegations from around the world who want to see our version of problem-based learning in action. I would like to thank Allison White, and I saw her here somewhere, our director of the Akron Hub, and along with our partners, the University of Akron, the City of Akron, the Greater Akron Chamber, and NeoMed as a school partner in this great effort to really expand STEM learning, not just within Akron Public Schools, but within our region assigned by the Ohio STEM Learning Network. Now, in Akron Public Schools, our partnerships with our teaching staff has enabled teams of teachers to improve their professional practice, and in addition, they're meeting the needs of our students. Our professional learning communities are moving the needle, and under the leadership of Dr. Ellen McWilliams, we have spent a lot of time over the last several years to improve instruction. Our teachers are using student data to drive instructional practices. We continue to work under the motto of teacher leadership and collaboration, where teachers meet weekly, sometimes more, to analyze the results of student data, to identify the learning needs of our students, and to hold each other accountable for results. We offer instruction to students in a variety of ways to push advanced students and to support struggling students. In all 4 academic content areas, English language arts, math, social studies, and science, our teachers have received advanced Common Core training to meet these more rigorous standards. In addition, we have adopted new textbooks in areas like math that have digital content embedded, adding more options for the delivery of instruction. Over the next few years, because of a positive financial forecast, we'll be updating other content areas in terms of instructional materials. In partnership with the Akron Education Association, we have also implemented a rigorous new peer review process for new teachers. We have an internal board of review made up of our teachers and staff. And for teachers new to the field of education, there is a 7-year residency process in the state of Ohio with a strong teacher mentor ingredient. And I'd like to really thank Pat Scheidt, president of the Akron Education Association, for her leadership, which can, I think, be stated a very difficult time in education because we have a lot of things being thrown at us, but we seem to, pick it up and carry the ball as we need to. To get us where we need to go with requirements for better data management, online testing, electronic curricular materials, technology continues to be a prime driver today in the field of education. This year, we have invested more than $3 million on upgrades to our network, new computers, additional internet capacity to meet the state requirements for online tests next year. Whether it's the carts of Chromebooks that many of our schools have that are used for online testing or classroom instruction, or the bandwidth and network infrastructure upgrades, our reliance on technology is ever increasing. And with these upgrades, we are making progress on the plan that I outlined last year to offer online courses to our students so they can enjoy blended learning. And speaking of students, from my point of view as superintendent of Akron Public Schools, I do see a variety of students, from those who are highly successful and want to learn, and to those at the other end of the spectrum who may not really value their education yet. But I know that some of us, can be very good at, just saying, let's throw our hands up and give up, or it's someone else's problem. Well, it really isn't. It's, educating our kids is everyone's job. And without a properly trained population, workforce, our quality of life is at risk, our economy is at risk, our whole national security is at risk. So it's in our best interest to ensure that each and every child in our community has the best chance at getting an education, and in my view, whether they want it or not. But how we deal with students who have so many other problems on their plates that they find it difficult to concentrate on their studies or let alone their futures is really something we need to wrestle with. Many of our children come to school with a lot of insecurity that makes it nearly impossible to focus. There are issues with food, shelter, and safety that can affect many of our families multiple times during a given school year. And while our schools provide lots of support, from the free breakfast and lunch to counseling services, tutoring, after-school programming, we cannot do everything on our own. We need organizations and individuals, many of you in this audience, to mentor our children, to help them deal with some of the social, emotional issues in their lives, to show them that success does come through education. Some of our families think life is like those reality TV shows that highlight much of what can go wrong with the human condition, programs that will glorify families that are broken, people who are constantly disagreeable, resorting to violence, dishonesty, and a host of other bad behaviors that if I exhibited, while growing up, it would have led to a sound spanking by my parents, and yes, they did believe in corporal punishment. I had a few spankings in my time, but our children really do need to learn character, grit, the ethic of hard work, how to be kind and courteous, how to get along with others. And there was a time when members of our communities would really step in and help raise our children, a time when the characteristics I listed were expected out of our kids and adults, when they were the norm. And to be honest, I think, there are people who are scared, and I say don't be. Last year, I met a group of students at Bucktown CLC with the help of Project Ujima. In the Bucktown cluster, Project Ujima is convening discussion circle conversations in the community in a collaborative effort to improve their lives from the bottom up rather than top down. They identify issues and they collaboratively look to find solutions. For more information on the project, contact Susan Vogelsang and Crystal Jones, another shameless plug. But the goal of that program is really to hear from the community in terms of what they wanted in terms of education, access to our community learning centers for programming. And I think we're getting some very good information from that group, which can help inform some of the needs that are in that particular community. In 2013, a report by Motivational Educational Entertainment entitled Inner City Truth 3, Understanding the New Majority Minority, survey data collected from 5 major urban centers across the country tells us that 88% of urban youth believe that education is important. Now, many of us may thought, we're surprised by that, but that's the survey. 82% plan to continue their education after high school. So what does that tell us? It tells us that I think these kids actually have aspirations. These kids really want to look at their future and they really want to try and make something out of themselves. And that's what I got from that conversation at Bucktown High School talking with those students. So another figure they had is 57% believe that the cost of college is a major barrier to finishing. So when I listened to those students, I discovered, they want people to listen to them. They want help and guidance. And above all, they know whether or not we care. And we have to care. It's imperative, which is why we support them, even when they might do something wrong. In some of our districts, we might shy away from talking about student discipline, but it's one of the stark realities that our educators deal with today. And you should know as much as possible about what we face and how we face it every day. Last year, I reported that student behavior remains a big obstacle for some of our students, not all. And based on another review of discipline data, we find that 88% of our students receive no serious out-of-school suspensions. In reality, only a very small number of students have severe problems and repeat suspensions. I'm glad that the Ohio legislature is looking at revising school discipline laws, and tomorrow I'll be in Columbus meeting with some of their representatives on this very important issue. And while I do favor serious consequences for serious school discipline issues and dangerous actions by our students, some of the stories you hear, like expelling a child for hugging a friend, or a teacher, innocently, of course, or some other minor violation of our student code is outrageous. However, I will counter that by saying no teacher or staff member in our schools should have to come to work in fear of their safety in dealing with students who are a danger to themselves and others. But we have to make sure that we're balancing the rights of our students and the rights of our staff to come up with, the truth behind incidents of issues with our kids. And as a community, we really need to come up with better solutions on school discipline. So today I propose to our school board that we convene a group of parents, staff, and community stakeholders, number one, to review our code of student behavior and our student discipline data to make recommendations to really address student behavior as it is now, including the disproportionate number of African American students, particularly males, who are disciplined. I think that's very important. I also want to mention that we have brought someone in on our staff to really lead these school climate initiatives. And climate doesn't mean, temperature. Well, in a way it does if you look at it that way. But climate really deals with how some of the social, emotional issues that we have for our students are dealt with, like helping with positive behavior supports, positive relationships among our kids and staff, and helping our staff learn better how to respond to our students and really promote positive behavior. Andrew Sicardi is in charge of this new endeavor. He was an assistant principal at Ennis Middle School, where they probably were really the poster child for positive behavior supports. It really did work well there, so I've asked him to lead this initiative district-wide, and we really look forward to some positive results. Thank you. This year, we are also collaborating with the YMCA by housing their Phoenix program at our old Barrett School building. This alternative behavior modification program serves students in middle and high school who may have returned from the Department of Youth Services or are involved with the juvenile court system or have other serious behavioral problems. In addition, at the same site, but in a separate area, we're piloting a middle school alternative to suspension program to give our kids a chance to turn it around. And I'd like to thank Doug Cole and Tony Grimes from the Y for their support on this important work. And the Akron Public Schools also continues to work with the City of Akron Police Department in the placement of resource officers in our secondary schools. This year, many of these officers were involved in ALICE training, which stands for Alert, Lock Down, Inform, Counter, Evacuate, and provides the proper tools for our staff and students to respond appropriately to an active threat situation. I'm sure we've all heard about the issues around the country, like in Newtown, et cetera. Our resource officers, however, are not in our schools to take the place of our principals, but they are there for support and to protect our folks from dangerous situations. I fully support their work, and I'd like to thank Chief James Nice and Mayor Plasquelic, who couldn't be here today, for their continued support of this important partnership in making our community learning center safe. And we also partner with Judge Linda Teodosio and the Juvenile Detention Center to find ways of helping our students make the right choices. You know, the last thing the judge wants to see and I want to see is someone coming in front of her bench in her courtroom. And so we really try to provide access to educational programming that can help kids deal with some of the issues that they have, like through our responder program, where there are individuals from the court who can help counsel a kid and their family when there is something that might go awry or we see that they could be going down the wrong path. Now, with all those things, you know, we really cannot do our job without the support of a caring community and partners, as I've just mentioned. And in the philanthropic community, we talk about time, talent, and treasure. And this concept is not just about organizations, it's about individuals as well. This past summer, we celebrated with LeBron James and the LeBron James Family Foundation at the I Promise Family Reunion, where more than 2,700 APS students, staff, and families enjoyed a family picnic for our Wheels for Education kids. Through this partnership, Samsung donated 700 Galaxy tablets to the Akron Public Schools, which were used in our summer technology camps that the foundation sponsors, our pre-fall academic enrichment programs, and distributed to our third grade classrooms to support our Akron after-school program. In addition, a company called Sebco Books, a Miami book publisher, has made available more than 3,600 electronic textbooks or reading materials that can be accessed online by our elementary students, both at school and at home. And during the year, LeBron himself has made robocalls, sent letters, given I Promise wristbands, and made personal visits to our Wheels for Education and Akron After School kids as positive reinforcement for doing what is right and remaining focused on school. LeBron also hosted 10 of our students who were with him on the stage in Miami at the NBA MVP ceremony this past year. So talk about a memorable experience. Last year I went, and I wasn't going to chaperone little kids who were running through the airport. And you know, in my family, there were lots of little kids, and I was always one who had to watch and make sure they don't stray off. This fall, we'll reach another milestone with our Wheels for Education students when our first group of students transition from elementary to middle school. And that's going to take on a whole different approach because we're trying to partner with the foundation to make sure that we're focusing on these college and career-ready supports. So I look forward to working with LeBron and the foundation to continue our support of these kids as they move on to complete high school by 2021. Now, LeBron's a very prime example of someone who cares and as a community, we really need to support his efforts. You know, another example of caring in our community is our partnership with Love Akron. At Findlay Community Learning Center, Principal Sherry Bennington and her staff serve students who speak 6 different languages at least and come from 11 different countries. For sure, this can make the educational process a challenge. Mark Ford, Executive Director of Love Akron, in collaboration with Emerge Counseling Services, First Congregational Church of Hudson, along with Summit Education Initiative, have teamed up to provide support for the staff and students at Findlay. Whether it's reading to a child, supporting their clothing needs or social emotional needs, their Adopt a School program is a prime example of how individuals can donate their time and talent to assist our kids. Let's not forget our own Project Rise. Deborah Mansicky's in the office, serving 950 homeless students in our area. You know, through Deborah and the numerous partnerships she's developed to help these students, you know, she's helping these students stay in school while they're living through some very difficult situations of homelessness. Now, make no mistake, our work is very difficult, and at times we feel like we're swimming upstream, you know, but so much is at stake. I think our future's at stake, and my plea to you today is to not give up, to help a child learn to read, to help a student navigate the road to college, or to mentor a student who has an interest in being something like a plumber, electrician, a nurse, a physician, or engineer. It's all about helping our children develop the skills to be independent, to make the right choices, and to better themselves, to be contributors to society. We really have to help them see the possibilities. And there's one more partnership I want to highlight, because if I don't, I'll get beat up by Chris Uhas. I'm just going to say, you know, we're partnering with AMHA on the Summit Lake Family Opportunity Center, where we're really targeting our youngest students. In partnership with ASCA, AMHA and Akron Public Schools will be working with pre-kindergarten students in preschool and our kindergarten students. We have 2 classrooms. It's a collaboration. We've donated and worked on our portion of the building, building up our classroom area, and we're really going to target the community of Summit Lake. And this is a very different partnership because we're really trying to reach families a lot earlier and try to provide those supports. So what you can see there is during the day, you'll see kindergarten students learning, you'll see preschool students learning, but you may also see adults in another part of the building taking courses. And so it really is a great partnership, and I encourage you to find out more about it. Now, I also want to share a few new things. I'm happy to report that at the beginning of the year, we opened the New Hatton Community Learning Center. It was a wonderful community open house and dedication ceremony. On January 12th, we dedicated the new Cyberlink Community Center, our 28th new facility. And I know many of you are aware of problems that we've had with the King Community Learning Center project. I'm happy to report that it will be completed in time for staff and students in the fall of this year. Firestone and Litchfield is currently underway with some site work going on. Our initial bids for the building came in, well, some people say a little over budget, $9 million. So we're working with the state to rebid that project, and after a review by the construction manager and the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, we'll be back on track with that building. Our Harris Community Learning Center will be rebuilt on the site that formerly housed Jackson School. We hope to begin construction on Harris this fall as well. And we're leaving the old Harris site as a park. We left the playground equipment there so it can be enjoyed by the community. I am really looking forward to finishing the balance of our program, you know, Elliott, Garfield North, Kent Middle School, Miller South, Kenmore. Let's see, there are a couple that aren't on my list. Firestone Park, Bettis, Case, and Pfeiffer. Oh, got it. In October, our Board of Education approved a 5-year financial forecast that projects the budget to be in the black. Now, based on our November 12th, 2012 levy passage, a state budget last year which did not include really severe cuts to Akron, and our own previous budget reductions and work, we are really somewhat optimistic. I say somewhat because in Ohio, school finance is like shifting sand. It's always fluctuating. It's a moving target. The state budget can change again, our local property valuations change, state and federal requirements change, and enrollment changes. And any and all of these can have an adverse impact on our revenues and expenditures. However, enrollment really is a particular challenge in this competitive environment. This year, our in-seat enrollment has dropped about 2.53% from last year. And in total, more than 6,000 students choose other educational options in our community. And this number keeps growing. By 2018, we project this number to rise to about 7,500. As I said before, we live in a competitive environment, but our job is to meet the competition head on. So in response, we've implemented an advertising campaign to target our competition. You may have seen we've purchased some ads on electronic billboards earlier in the year and Akron Metro buses. We've improved the process of registering students in our district. We've used social media to communicate with followers. And I hope you've noticed something different in the publications that we send out, because we unveiled a new logo late last year. It's received excellent reviews, and by the way, I want to thank Susan Panning from Lime Creative and Amy Wong of .org Solutions for their work on the logo. In addition, speaking of logos and competing and excellent programming, our Akron School for the Arts has come up with a new logo, previously known as the Visual and Performing Arts Program at Firestone. The Akron School for the Arts is out there competing with a new logo and really a new approach to attracting and retaining, that artistic talent among our young people in the community. So as we have moved to extend Akron Public Schools more into the community through a new communication strategy, an emerging part of that is what I'm about to show you. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time demonstrating it, because you can do that once you get back to your offices. But I would like to do now is flip the switch and go live with our new akronschools.com website. And our new website is going to be more user-friendly than its predecessor. And when we enable all the features, you'll be able to have it customized to meet your individual needs, whether you're a parent, a volunteer, a staff member, or just someone who's interested in the schools. I want to thank Renee Garrett from our communications office, Dan Young with DXY Solutions, Bree Bowman and Amy Wong at .org Solutions for their tireless work on this endeavor. We know today that communicating is about having a real conversation with people. Our old site was pretty much a one-way site and driven by a lot of district information. The new site will allow us to allow individual schools to have more autonomy and creativity so they can create their own conversations with their own families. So as our communications director, Mark Williamson, began to help us reframe our thinking about who we are and how we want to be perceived, it occurred to us that in this competitive environment, we really need to reach out to our customers, both adults and children. And we need to reach out to the best and brightest potential employees who may want to come work at APS. So our site has been intentionally designed with mobile capabilities, so for those who receive their information in that method will be able to get it. We've asked for input from our teachers, principals, parents, administrators, and we listened. We took their ideas, and all those ideas were woven into the site that you see on the screens. So what you see here now is really not something designed and created by one person or entity. It's really been a partnership with a lot of our families and employees, and they've just spent so much time, just like figuring out the calendar. So if you want to know when the musical fundraiser is for Firestone, or the East Alumni is having a fundraiser, you can just go to the website, enter the word arts. You'll be linked to a list of all the arts activities going on without having to wade through a lot of other information. And when you find an event you want to attend, our website will actually help you get there by showing a Google map of the destination. So we'd like you all just to stay tuned as we roll out additional features and functionality. I think you'll be very pleased, and you'll see too how this new website helps us communicate more of the good things that are going on at APS. Because we have thousands and thousands of wonderful students and families, and literally thousands of great stories to tell. With this new website, we'll be able to highlight even more of what's going on in APS. such as our career education programs like the masonry program at Buckle that's been highlighted, our culinary program at Garfield under the direction of Mr. Skelly, whose students prepared the meals for our Akron Council of PTA's Founders Day celebration, the jazz competition I attended this past weekend at Elliott High School, just highlighting the talent of many of the students from around the district. And in fact, one of our students is a national gold medal winner. Not at the Olympics, though, but it is something that benefits our military personnel and their families. A student by the name of Cindy Rawson from Higher Community Learning Center took top honors at the Family, Career, and Community Leaders National Leadership Conference, which was held in Nashville. And Cindy's project was titled Bringing Christmas to You, and it represented the multitude of service projects that the Higher chapter did for military personnel. Our students do some amazing things, and this is just one that I wanted to bring to your attention, so we should congratulate Cindy. So as a community, we must recognize that education is everyone's job, and it's easy to expect that certain people like me are solely responsible for educating our children. I'm not solely responsible. It really takes partnerships with all of you. So I challenge you as you leave here today to look at things a little differently, recognize that we all play a part in the development of our children and our community. So thank you for being here, enjoy, and we look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Now you've heard from the superintendent. It's your chance to ask some questions of David James here. So we have someone around. The cards are on the table. And I'll start with what? I have a list. Governor Kasich is going to be in Medina next week, giving his State of the State address. What would you most like to hear from the governor?
Do I have to answer that? You know, I've met the governor on several occasions, and, you know, I really appreciate the situation that he's in. But what I would say is to just give districts flexibility because one size doesn't fit all. You know, there are lots of issues that we have in this state regarding education. I understand the issues of making sure kids perform higher, but we shouldn't, you know, get to the point where we're testing so much we're not letting kids develop the ability to enjoy art or music or dance. So I would just like more flexibility.
Here's one from the audience. Does the school system still determine aptitude from testing to counsel and help students on a future path for a career or profession?
Yes, we administer diagnostics with the help of, well, he was in our career ed program, but I've reassigned him. So Howard Lawson with, I'm going to say Plan and Explore, or one of the two, where we can get diagnostic information to help kids look at, you know, areas that they're proficient in, and it actually helps identify career paths that they may be interested in. And that's what we're doing, you know, in terms of this whole concentration on college and career-ready supports. In Akron Public Schools, you know, through the variety of programs we offer, students actually can find something that they're interested in, and they can take that all the way through. If they want to learn a career and go directly to the world of work, we can do that with some of the, you know, with some of the certificates that they can earn through our career programs. Or if they want to go to college, they can do that. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're paying attention to our kids and giving as many as we can the opportunity to get some of this work done earlier. So that whole focus on college and career ready, dual enrollment, that's an important part. But there's also kids who may not want to go to college, or that's not them. And we have to remember there are a lot of people who have college degrees that are in areas where they're not making, you know, financial headway. But call a plumber to your house, and when you have to write the check, you know, and we have a lot of business partnerships so we can serve both types of students.
What is being done to educate students to learn and understand not just to meet the metrics of the state test. English grammar and composition and basic math are mentioned here.
You know, there's a saying in drill and kill, you know, you just keep giving them these tests, and that really, it's sad because, you know, we really think that one test or two tests or three or the more we test is going to really make a difference. And I'm telling you, you know, yesterday I was over at the STEM high school, and, you know, we're seeing students who are doing some fabulous things. And you know how they're doing it's not by all this test and test and test, but it's really by mastery. It's giving kids the opportunity to learn content, because there is content that students have to learn, but it's also giving them the opportunity to apply, because we have students that, you know, they learn differently. No one learns this in exactly the same way. And I think that's kind of the falsehood of, you know, just constantly testing a kid, like, what, okay, so they can take a test, but can they do something productive? And so we really are focusing on addressing all the needs of our kids and making sure that they all have opportunities to really do some exploration, to really learn some of those 21st century skills, because education is a lifelong process. And we really need to get to the point of, you know, defining what does education really mean, because even with all the testing and everything we're saying, we're still basing it on an old paradigm. The high school diploma today is meaningless. And personally, you know, my own opinion is public school should only go up to 10th grade, and then you should go on to community college. But, you know, that just seems to be foreign to many people, but our kids can do the work. I have kids at, you know, early college doing it. I have kids at the STEM high school who can do it. We've taken courses like algebra, a year-long course, and we made it a semester. And we have kids who are getting A's and B's by squishing all that content into a shorter period of time. It's just the environments that we create. So yes, there are some things to say about getting math skills, getting reading, which is why there's a big focus in our district on really on that early age, focusing on reading, because that's one of the main keys to the rest of learning. And then as we have kids come through past third grade, to be able to vary the instruction, and we can embed the literacy, the math, the science, and social studies, but it's giving kids, you know, the opportunity to really have their learning varied, and it doesn't necessarily have to happen in a room in a school. Our whole community should be our learning lab.
This one looks like a follow-up to the governor question here. In your talk, you said little about the state legislature. What dark clouds or rays of sunshine will be coming from Columbus?
You know, I've met with legislators, testified, you know, in Columbus for different things, and they are open to some ideas, but a lot of times politics, you know, gets in the way. So tomorrow, you know, there are two bills, Senate Bill, I think 167 or 169, and Senate Bill 239, which they want to change discipline policies. And so we're going to meet with Senator Lehner, some of us from across the state, and try and discuss that. What we want are really common sense things. You know, kids do things, you know, that impact their education. That's just one example. But, you know, there are some philosophies that no matter what you do, like I want to see charter funding change, but it's never going to happen. You know, it's just not going to happen. So in education, we basically have just dealt the hand that's been given us. You know, it is not highly likely that we're going to change, you know, the current perception of education in our state. That's going to be for someone else to do. But we just try to make do and just, you know, react. Like I said at the beginning, you know, they changed the rules on us when we walked in and turned the lights on this morning. So we're going to have to deal with that. And it's very frustrating for our teachers. It's very frustrating for our principals to have to do. I don't think you realize the ton of work that principals have to do. It's not about, you know, wiping a snotty nose. It's about making sure Johnny can read and then making sure what interventions this kid needs, looking at all the data. It is really a science now and not an art. Summer break was originally used to help the farmers in their crops.
and this kind of life just doesn't exist anymore. When will you ever consider year-round schools? Louisville, Kentucky, which is where I'm from, actually, is an example of where year-round schools have created dramatic improvement even in low-income areas.
Someone's channeling me. I have thought that for so long. It is really, there is so much academic loss that I think occurs over the summer. But that's going to take some real creative solutions on our part and on the part of our teachers union, and the way contracts end. You have to remember, 3313 in the Ohio Revised Code was set up from the days of when, and it's been added to, of like the one-room schoolhouse. They still call them schoolhouses in the Ohio Revised Code. But it's going to really take a lot of unique solutions. Now, we do offer many summer programs for kids. We are implementing a 6-week summer program. We have pre-fall programs that help kids right before school starts, so it can help them catch up on some of that content they might lose. But the other thing, the problems that I had with just calling a snow day, imagine what parents, as parents, what we're going to have to do if kids go all year long. Now, some may like it, but I can see the daycare people upset because now the summer, they're going to be in school. It's been done, and I'd like to see it, but we're going to have to really be careful to make sure that legally there's going to have to be changes, financially there's going to have to be changes. And I support extended school day and school year. I really think if we're trying to prepare kids for the real world, how many people really have the summer off other than in education? Most people are working, year round, but that's a very different concept for people, I think, to get their arms around.
Well, we seem to be at a lunch here, so here's a question about food. The basic question is that they're wondering if a dietitian would not help make the food at some places taste better than jail food. But the questioner also ends by thanking you for a job well done at Buckle CLC.
Well, I'm sorry, Deborah. I had nothing to do with that. I don't think, my own kids complain about lunch food. And I have to explain to them, okay, so number one, our lunch program is not subsidized by our general fund. It's completely self-supporting. The other thing is there are fresh fruits and vegetables and things that are included in our menu. I think a lot of people are upset because we took French fries off the menu and, some of those other things. Yes, the guidelines, and they are driven by federal regulations. But, there's been some criticism, from some people that when they want to cut down the calories, there's some kids that maybe they need more, like the athletes, but the rules will prevent some of those, kids from doing that. I have eaten some of our food, and I don't think it's really that bad. I'll say when I went to school, we had everything wrapped in cellophane, and it came out those big ovens, and we ate it and survived. I just think there's some things that kids are just going to complain about because they can't have candy, chips, and fried foods. So, that's just too bad. And thank you for mentioning, Buckle CLC. We're really proud of that community learning center and the work that, Project Ujima is doing there, the work in the community. So thank you for that comment, because that was a lot of hard work to get that to come to completion.
You mentioned in your speech some enrollment figures. Where do you see the long-term enrollment of Akron Public Schools going?
Well, that's going to depend because, I'm trying to compete for customers. So many people need to know about innovation generation because, you can get your tuition paid for. And so for someone who has a kid going to college in the fall, I'm telling you, I'm getting these papers from the college saying, oh, it's going to only cost you this. I'm like, huh? So, we're really trying to differentiate Akron Public Schools through these unique partnerships. And so we're trying to use that to help boost enrollment. But, the truth of the matter is if those trends keep up, we'll probably be down in a couple of years to about 19,000 students and may even go lower than that. A lot of it is going to really depend on the collaboration among us, the city. You know, I appreciate the work that the mayor has done and letting us know when things are happening, because we're all in this together. Our business community, you know, through the Greater Akron Chamber, our Business Advisory Council, we all recognize that, you know, we need to develop our workforce. We need to pay close attention to economic development because that's how we're getting some of our tax revenue. And making this city attractive for people to come to live, you know, work and play. So all of that's related, but if we don't pay attention to some of those factors, our enrollment will continue to decline.
I just have one final question. You mentioned LeBron James a lot in your speech. You seem to have a close relationship. What are the chances of you bringing him back to the Cavs next season?
You know, I mean, it's really the only thing we share is a last name. I really don't think that's going to happen. You know, I just hope that he continues the partnership of working with his kids, and that'll be fine with me.